This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from December 13th to December 15th of 2024. Hello. If you are new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now before we start, there's something that's been bugging me for over a week. So last week I decided to rewatch Harry Potter. And here's the question I have to you. Maybe some Harry Potter diehards or sickos can correct me if I'm wrong, but why does no one use guns on Harry Potter? Why don't you just shoot Voldemort? Just put someone on the top of the Tower of Hogwarts, and when Voldemort's down there just being an asshole to everyone and killing people, put the sniper and just bang, dead. Harry Potter killed Voldemort. Voldemort is dead. Everyone's safe. They never even try to shoot Voldemort. And the guy's a complete asshole. He's a jerk. He's using like forbidden spells and killing people. And he walks around with a snake. Who walks around with a snake? So my question to the Harry Potter sickos is, why throughout, 7, 8 movies, several books, why did no one ever try to shoot Voldemort? But that's all. We're going to go to the recap very soon. Make sure to drop a like if you haven't already. And with that said, let's play the intro and start the episode. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. So let's go to England and talk about the Americans that play there. And why don't we start with Matt Turner and Chris Richards from Crystal Palace. Matt Turner stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes this weekend, but Chris Richards was not available for a good reason. Chris Richards is now a dad. He had a kid. So congratulations to Chris Richards. Actually, I was a little bit worried when I didn't see him make the bench, but then we saw his Instagram story. He became a father. So once again, congratulations to Chris Richards. Next up, we have Anthony Robinson from Fulham. And on Saturday, A-Rob started and played the full 90 minutes for Fulham during their 2-2 draw with Liverpool. And I'm not really overhyping his performance here, but he quite literally was the man of the match. And no one else really came close. Defensively, he was rock solid. On top of that, he got 2 assists in the game, both were crosses, one over the top and the other one was a low cross. Of course, this led to many US men's national team fans starting to rank A-Rob among other fullbacks because that's what we do. We can't just accept the fact that he's an incredible player, a great left back. On top of that, they started linking him with the best clubs in the Premier League, which honestly, I get it. When it comes to pure performances this season, he is there with the best. He is one of the best. But personally, I think Robinson is where he should be, and he should stay there. Fulham knows how to utilize him. He is a player that has great recovery speed. He's very good on 1v1 defending and lethal in overlaps and quick transitions when attacking. The moment he moves to a club that requires ability in tight spaces, combination play in the final third, I can see that becoming an issue, which is pretty much every single club in the Big Six in England. I'm just going to be honest. A move next summer is looking very likely based on his performances, and what I think doesn't really matter, but I'd rather have A-Rob stay with Fulham because I think it's perfect for him. Now, if he does get a move, I wish him the best, right? He's one of the best players we have. He's actually one of the best players the US men's national team has ever had. He's been incredible for them. Next up would have been Tyler Adams from Bournemouth, but they play on Monday. We record this on Sunday, so you know the drill. Let us know in the comment section down below, how did Tyler Adams do? He's expected to start for Bournemouth on Monday. And with that said, before we go to Italy, please drop a like in this video. We're trying to hit 1,000 likes. Thank you very much. The next stop is Italy, and we are going to talk about the Americans that play in the Serie A. The first two being Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan, but they were not available for Milan this weekend because both of them are injured. Now, they're expected to be back sooner rather than later, like at the latest a little bit after New Year's, but this weekend they were not available. And of course, Christian Pulisic is currently injured, and that is bad news. But we have good news. According to Fabrizio Romano, Christian Pulisic is set to renew his contract with Milan till the summer of 2028, with an option to the summer of 2029. So that's after the 2026 World Cup and the 2028 Olympics in LA, which more or less puts to rest the rumors that he would come to MLS right after the 2026 World Cup. And let's be real, he shouldn't really consider MLS until he starts to decline. which is probably after the 2030 World Cup. And you know what? Christian Pulisic staying in Milan till 2029 actually leads into a video that we're going to be releasing this week, which the topic is, could Christian Pulisic become a Milan legend? We're going to release this video on Wednesday with 2 special guests. It's a good debate, which at first it seemed crazy, but once we talked about it, it actually isn't. So before you call me delusional, and you don't even know my take, right? Do I think he can become a legend? Do I not think he can become a legend? We're going to talk about that on Wednesday, so don't miss out. This episode's going to be big. It's going to be great. Next up, we have Tim Weah and Weston McKennie from Juventus, and Gianluca Busio from Venezia, because Juve and Venezia clashed over the weekend. And on Saturday, McKennie and Weah both started for Juve during their 2-2 draw with Venezia. As for McKennie, he played the full 90 minutes, while Tim Weah played 65 minutes. Gianluca Busio started for Venezia and played the full 90 minutes. In terms of performances, I thought McKennie wasn't great. He was a bit sloppy on the ball. I don't think he was properly utilized by Thiago Motta this game, but I don't really want to make excuses, and it could be also that I hold Weston McKennie to a pretty high standard due to how good I know he can actually be. As for Tim Weah, I thought he was fairly good in the first half, but he fell off quite a bit in the second half, which is probably why he was subbed out early in the second half, but he looked good as a right winger during the first 45 minutes. Gianluca Busio was fine, more or less what I expect from him, considering the fact that he was facing a superior opponent, a much better team than his own. I would say he did well. He held his own throughout the game. He had a solid performance on both ends, right, for Gianluca Busio. With that said, before we continue, don't forget to drop a like in this video, and a quick word from the sponsor of this video, SoRare, will be back in 60 seconds roughly. So don't go anywhere, because we're going to be talking about Gio Reyna very soon. Do you collect sports cards? Do you play fantasy sports? Yes, no, maybe? If you said yes to any of that, I got something for you. And if you said no, you might still want to stick around. Tactical Manager TV is partnering up with SoRare with a special offer. The link will be in the description. In SoRare, you can collect your own virtual cards of your favorite players. And then you may be asking, why would I want to collect virtual cards? Well, you can line them up on 5-a-side games every single week. And if your players perform in real life, you can win actual money, signed jerseys, game tickets, or even more cards to improve your own club. And you can also get unique experiences like a friend of the channel, Thiago, that got to meet Zinedine Zidane. You know what's also cool? They also have the NBA and Major League Baseball. I'm mainly gonna just stick to soccer, but you do you. What I really like about SoRare, before we even partnered with them, is that they're unlike other fantasy games where you have to pay per play. In SoRare, you pay to get the players you want permanently as cards, and then you can play multiple times using those same cards, at least until the player retires, win rewards if your players perform in real life. You can also buy undervalued player cards for cheap, then hold, use them in the future when they improve or develop, and then you can even sell that card when its value goes up for better ones. Or just keep the money yourself. And if you use the link in the description of this video, you will get $50 in credit after buying your first 5 cards through auctions or instant buy at any prices. Play with responsibility. All right, enjoy. Okay, we are back, and now we're gonna go to Germany and talk about the Americans in the Bundesliga. The first one being Gio Reyna from Borussia Dortmund. And on Sunday, Gio Reyna started and played 77 minutes for Dortmund during their 1-1 draw with Hoffenheim in the Bundesliga. And look, Gio Reyna's overall performance wasn't great. And before you call me a hater, I'm just calling a spade, right? Remove the goal, which was a banger, beautiful. We're gonna talk about that in a second. The overall performance wasn't great. But I'm going to put it this way. The context of his performance matters. And overall, like now ignoring the performance for a second, I really like what I'm seeing. There's truly a lot to be optimistic about. First and foremost, Gio Reyna scored a banger. Beautiful ball. First touch with his chest, put it down, and hit a beautiful shot on target to score for Dortmund. The only goal that they scored throughout the game, showing all the talent that he has. Even when he struggles to perform, which he was in this game, he can pull those. I mean, he pretty much gave Dortmund the win, but they screwed things up late in the game. This was also the second consecutive start ever since he came back from injury. He's trending in the right direction. I don't want to jinx it, so I'll end my takes here, but I still want to add the fact that I want Gio Reyna to leave Dortmund. I am very skeptical of their medical staff. I think they suck. And the coach himself, Sahin, I think he might not start Gio once Julian Brandt is back. I don't know. In my opinion, Gio should still leave Dortmund, but he's trending in the right direction. I really like what I've been seeing. Okay, so we do have to talk about Landon Donovan here. And we actually have to thank him for the true patriot that he is. Landon Donovan's ability to reverse jinx Americans that play in Europe must be studied, and it's very often underappreciated by fans. We should thank him. First, it was Christian Pulisic to the Galaxy, and we know how that went. As soon as he said that, Pulisic got to Milan, and I mean, the rest is history. We know how Pulisic is doing while playing for Milan. Now, it was Gio Reyna should have started his career in MLS. And it seems like after he said that, it magically helped Reyna get minutes and even score a banger. So my question to you is the following. Who should Landon Donovan reverse jinx next? Now, we would have reported on Kevin Paredes and Leonard Maloney, Paredes for Wolfsburg and Maloney from Heidenheim, but they're both injured, so there's no updates there. So the last American I want to talk about in Germany is Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And on Saturday, Scally started and played 86 minutes for Gladbach during their 4-1 win over Holstein Kiel. And that's it for Germany. Now let's go to Spain and talk about the Americans that play in La Liga. The first one would have been Luca de la Torre from Celta Vigo, but he stayed on the bench this weekend. I believe they played Sevilla and they lost 1-0. Luca de la Torre got no minutes. I said this before, we made a whole video about USMNT players that need to move this winter, and Luca de la Torre definitely needs to leave Celta Vigo in January. So let's skip Luca de la Torre and talk about Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis, and Johnny is back from injury. And on Sunday, Johnny started and played the full 90 minutes for Real Betis during their 2-1 win over Villarreal. And this was a big win. This was a massive win for Real Betis. It was away, and they played man down for most of the game. Johnny Cardoso had a tremendous defensive performance with crucial tackles, interceptions, reading of the game. He was great, and he helped them get these 3 points. He was also back from injury on Thursday. He played their Europa Conference League game, so it's kind of impressive that Johnny was able to come back from muscle injury and immediately perform at a high level in La Liga. Now we're going to go to France and talk about the Americans that play in Ligue 1. The first one would have been Florian Balogun, but he just had shoulder surgery and will be out for multiple weeks. He's not expected to be back any earlier than February. The other player also got surgery and he's not going to be available for quite some time, and his name is Caleb Wiley from Strasbourg, the young left back, the young American left back. He's going to be out also for 8 to 10 weeks. At the earliest, he would also be back in February. So let's skip those two and talk about Mark McKenzie from Toulouse. And on Friday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 2-1 win over Saint-Etienne. McKenzie had another rock-solid performance in Ligue 1. The other American in France that we would talk about would have been Tanner Tessman from Lyon, but Lyon lost to PSG 3-1 over the weekend, and Tanner Tessman stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes. He didn't play a single second, so there's nothing to talk about there. Okay, time to go to the Netherlands and talk about the Americans that play in the Eredivisie. The first ones being the ones that play for PSV. Malik Tillman, Ricardo Pepi, and Richie Ledesma. As for Serginho Dest, he is back into like individual training apparently, so he should be back with PSV early 2025, January, February, something like that. And on Saturday, Malik Tillman started and played the full 90 minutes for PSV during their 1-0 loss to Heerenveen. I think that's how you pronounce their name. I'm sorry if it's wrong. And I thought Malik Tillman was okay. He wasn't great, but he was okay. He wasn't really the issue with PSV. He played as a left winger during the first half, and then he was more central in the second, from what I can remember. But once again, he wasn't good during the game. He didn't stand out, but he was far from the problem. PSV did not have a good game. Now, Ricardo Pepi came off the bench around minute 67, and he really didn't do much. So he wasn't bad by any means, but he also wasn't great. But you know who was bad once again? Luke Skywalker. Actually, not Luke Skywalker, Luke De Jong. And what is that now? It's like 8 games with no goals or assists, something like that. Oh well, eventually he will get benched, I hope, and Ricardo Pepi will become the starter. As for Richie Ledesma, he was not available due to injury. We don't know when he's going to be back, but it's supposed to be a minor injury, so I'd expect him to be back this month. Still in the Netherlands, we have 2 Americans that play for Utrecht. Actually, one plays, the other, I don't know what's going on with the other, but let's talk about Paxton Aronson and Taylor Booth. And on Sunday, Paxton Aronson started once again and played the full 90 minutes for Utrecht during their 3-3 draw with Go Ahead Eagles, one of my favorite names out of any club in Europe. I would say probably a top 3 out of all the clubs in Europe that I know of. And Taylor Booth, he actually wasn't even on the bench for Utrecht, and I don't really know what's going on there, to be honest. Now we're gonna go to England, or to the United Kingdom, to talk about the Americans that play in the second division of England, the EFL Championship. The first one would have been Josh Sargent from Norwich, but he's still not available and not expected to be back this month, probably in January of 2025. So let's skip Josh Sargent and talk about Brendan Aronson from Leeds. And on Saturday, Aronson started and played 65 minutes for Leeds during their late 1-1 draw with Preston. I would not call this a stinker. I don't think Brendan Aronson was horrendous, but it was also pretty damn far from a good performance. Now, the other players in England would have been Haji Wright, but he's injured. He messed up his ankle a couple weeks ago and still hasn't returned. Ethan Horvath, he's benched. He plays for a team from Wales, the country, like Cardiff City, and he's benched. Not a very good team, and Horvath still can't play. The other one is Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough, but he's currently injured. He has a knee injury, and he's expected to be back later this month or early January. Now, listen, if you made it this far in the video, don't forget to smash the like button and drop that random comment that you guys always do to boost us in the YouTube algorithm. Now, before we leave the United Kingdom, let's talk about two Americans that play in Scotland. Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty from Celtic. And on Sunday, Trusty and Carter-Vickers both started for Celtic during their 3-3 draw with Rangers in the Scottish League Cup final, where Celtic ended up winning the final on penalty shootouts. Carter-Vickers played the entire game and Trusty was subbed out at halftime. There were no reports of an injury, so I'm not sure why Trusty was subbed out, and I didn't watch the game, so I don't really have an opinion in regards to his performance. Because you guys know the drill here. I do not comment on performances that I did not watch. Last but not least, I want to give a shout out to the Americans that are playing in the Liga MX final. Alejandro Zendejas playing for Club America. It's a 2-leg final, and Alejandro Zendejas got a goal and assist in the first leg, where Club America defeated Monterrey 2-1. Now, they played the second leg Sunday night. We record that prior to the final, so you can let us know in the comment section, how did Alejandro Zendejas do? And then we have Brendan Vasquez that normally comes off the bench for Monterrey. Regardless, an American will be a Liga MX champion this Sunday. So that's all for that. You guys know I don't normally cover Liga MX, but the fact that we have two Americans in the final, I think it's worth at least the shout out. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. Thank you very much Sorare once again for sponsoring this video. If you want to play Sorare, the link with the special offer will be in the description of this video. And that's all for today. Don't forget that on Wednesday we have a great episode talking about whether or not Christian Pulisic could in the future become a Milan legend. And I want to thank you all very much for watching and have a great day.